Hey, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic for Tuesday, October. I'm wrong about the date. I apologize. Hope everyone has had a great podcast or a great Tuesday. Sorry about that. Just like the Five Finger Death Punch song, I'm a little bit off today. And ready because I have a lot of good wrestling to talk about on this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic for you tonight. So get ready because I'm going to start off by going back to this past Saturday night, GCW The Collective. Well, one show from it. Going to talk about Shimmer 118. And I talked about this the last episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. If you have missed any of the shows that took place over the weekend, a part of the collective, you can watch the replays at any time at fight.tv or the Fight app, which, in my opinion, is the easiest way to watch Fight TV. Just use the app either on your phone or your tablet, your smart TV, or like I use my Roku TV. All right, let's get this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic started. Let's talk about some Shimmer. Shimmer Volume 118 as a part of GCW's Collective, Indianapolis, Indiana, this past Sunday afternoon. And the commentators for this show are Lenny Leonard and Allison Danger, as I put my notes up here. All right. Our first match, Kenzie Page, who has been seen a little bit on AEW, taking on Nevaeh, who's recently been competing for Impact Wrestling, and local Michigan fans here know her for being a former Clash Wrestling champion, representing Ohio is for Killers. Or I guess that's still a thing, right? Nevaeh picks up the victory in the opening contest. 6 minutes, 23 seconds. Good match to start off the show in this one. Big fan of Shimmer. Big fan of women's wrestling. Good to see it represented as part of the collective the weekend. And next up, we have a sensational scramble. It is Elena Black, Queen Aminita, Jody Threat, Alice Crowley, Big Mama, and Brittany Blake. This one was, for a scramble match like that, was kind of kept short, I thought, but it was a good match. We had some good action in this one. Alice Crowley, making her Shimmer debut, gets the upset victory in this one at 7 minutes 11 seconds. Good match here. I was surprised to see Crowley pick up the win in this one in her debut for Shimmer. Our next match is the Killer Bay, Heather Monroe. If you keep up with championship wrestling from Hollywood, you are very familiar with Heather Monroe. She gets a win over Layla Hirsch. And next up, we have tag team action, and it is Kayla Cassidy and Sierra taking on the Bird and the Bee, Willow Nightingale, and Solo Darling. The Bird and the Bee are victory in this match after Solo Darling gets the submission to score the win for her team with the Hertz Donut. Shimmer 118 continues with Davian taking on Lacey Ryan. Ryan picks up the win 8 minutes 10 seconds. Now the Heart of Shimmer Championship is on the line as Thunder Kitty challenges Hyon. And Hyon retains her championship 10 minutes 20 seconds in this one. Our next contest is Holiday taking on Zoe Sky. And Sky wins this one. Pretty good match here. 11 minutes, 47 seconds. Then both of them are good sports after this one. Shake hands, show of respect. The Shimmer Tag Team Championships are on the line next as Michigan's own Allison Kay and her partner Marty Bell taking on Team Sea Stars. And the Sea Stars retain their championships. 16 minutes, 11 seconds. Very good match here. Very good action in this one, I thought. I enjoyed this match. The main event of the evening is up now. The Shimmer Championship is up for grabs. Challenger, Nicole Savoy taking on Kimberly. And Lee gets the win with the Kimton Bomb. 20 minutes, 3 seconds to finish up Shimmer 118. Very good main event. Very good show after all. Once again, if you did not see Shimmer 118, but any of the shows that took place over the collective weekend, Joey Janela's Spring Break, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, or I don't think we're in Chicago anymore from Freelance Wrestling, and for a couple other shows that took place over the weekend. Black Label Pro was one of them, and very good shows. I recommend definitely checking them out, at least 2 or 3 of them anyway. You won't regret it. Fight.tv and the Fight app. You can watch the replays on either one. Definitely worth watching. Now let's move on to last night, Monday Night Raw, night 2 of the WWE 2020 draft. And we start off Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre brawling as we get closer to Hell in a Cell on the 25th. Excuse me there. Got a little wild cherry Pepsi instead of the usual coffee. Let's see. And we start off with the first round of the night 2 of the WWE draft right here. Once again, Stephanie McMahon is announcing the picks for each brand. Let's start off with Raw. They draft the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. the challenger for the WWE Championship coming up at Hell in a Cell, the Legend Killer, the Viper, Randy Orton, and Charlotte Flair. SmackDown gets Bayley and the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits. In case you missed it, last Friday night on SmackDown, Raw drafted the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. And later that night, they won the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. I'll get to that a little more as this Raw recap continues. Our first match of the evening, we got a no DQ Falls Count Anywhere match. Aleister Black taking on Kevin Owens. Good one. It's a good match. It's what you would expect. Brawling, weapons. Owens gets the win. Power bomb through a table. 12 minutes, 1 second. And next up, we have the second round. And for Raw, they draft Braun Strowman, the Ultimate Bro Matt Riddle, the King of Bros, whichever you want to call him, and the Charismatic Enigma Jeff Hardy. SmackDown this round gets Daniel Bryan, and who we just saw pick up the win in the last match, Kevin Owens. Next on Raw, it is Miz TV, The Miz and John Morrison in the ring, and their guests are Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, the newly formed tag team. And Mandy Rose talks a little bit about The Miz getting Mandy drafted to Raw to get her away from Otis. And Miz tries to warn Dana Brooke about Mandy with her friendship with Sonya and that coming to an end. But she says she wants to be friends with Mandy and trust her. And then we see Natalya and Lana, and a brawl breaks out. And then we go to a commercial break, and Miz TV continues when we come back. But it is interrupted by Lars Sullivan, who returned this past Friday night on SmackDown. And this time, The Miz gets out of harm's way, exits the ring, and Sullivan attacks Morrison. He gets the beating this time from Lars Sullivan. Next up, we are in the back, and Adam Pearce tells both the New Day and the Street Profits, since they've been drafted, switch shows, that they're going to exchange the Raw Tag Team Championships and the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. So as of right now, the New Day, the Raw Tag Team Champions, and the Street Profits, the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. But they are interrupted by Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, and they say they had a shot at the Raw Tag Team Champions. And they say they just want the Raw Tag Team Championships. They don't matter, or they don't care who the champions are. So they challenge Kingston and Woods to a match for those titles. And we got the third round of the draft up next. Raw drafts Retribution, Limitless Keith Lee, and Alexa Bliss, which is no surprise that they are keeping her on the same show as The Fiend to continue that storyline. SmackDown drafted someone we just saw, Lars Sullivan, and King Corbin is staying on Friday nights. we have Seth Rollins in the ring, kind of giving a farewell speech to Monday Night Raw as he was drafted to Friday Night SmackDown. And he is interrupted by Jeff Hardy. And then we see the phenomenal AJ Styles. And then we have a triple threat match. Rollins, Hardy, and Styles. And then we have a return in this match. It is Elias, who has been out for quite a few months. He hits Jeff Hardy with his guitar. Styles gets the pin on Hardy. 14 minutes, 8 seconds. Good match here, I thought. Good return from Elias, in my opinion. The returning Elias, the sassy Southern Belle Lacey Evans, and the Celtic Warrior Sheamus. And SmackDown gets Sami Zayn and the tag team of Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. Next up, women's tag team action. Natalya and Lana taking on Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Rose and Brooke get the victory, 4 minutes, 4 seconds. After this one, Natalya, obviously upset, says it's not working out. She leaves the ring, and we see the end of the tag team, Natalya and Lana. The Hurt Business is in the back, and Ricochet says he wants one last match with one of them. He says if he wins, they'll leave him alone, won't get in his business anymore. And he says if he loses, though, that he will join the Hurt Business. And Cedric Alexander accepts the challenge to represent the Hurt Business, taking on Ricochet. And tag team action, or singles action. Sorry, I'm just used to these two being a tag team. Singles action with two former partners, I should say, Angel Garza and Andrade. And Zelina Vega is on commentary. Excuse me. But then we see The Fiend and Alexa Bliss show up and hit both Andrade and Zelina Vega with Sister Abigail's. The next round of the draft up next, the 5th round, Raw gets Nikki Cross, the WWE 24/7, 7-Eleven, I-95, 27, 365, European champion. I think I messed that up, but whatever he says, R-Truth. And from Raw Underground, Daba Kato. And I have to admit, I'm hoping, since we haven't seen it in a couple weeks, that Raw Underground is done. But Stephanie McMahon did mention it when they drafted him. And so hopefully Raw Underground will stay gone, but who knows. We'll just have to stay tuned for that. And Friday Night SmackDown gets the tag team of Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode and Apollo Crews. Speaking of Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, they are up next challenging for the Raw Tag Team Championships, taking on the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. I guess you can still call them the New Day. Just the two of them. We'll have to see if they're still referred to as the New Day. I guess they will be. I don't see why not. But it is Kingston and Woods retaining 12 minutes, 3 seconds. Pretty good tag team match for TV, for a Raw anyway. I thought it was good. Elias in the back now. He is interviewed by Charlie, and he brings up something I'm sure a lot of people forgot about, and that was the whole thing where Hardy was supposed to have been driving intoxicated and hit Elias with his car, which I don't know if they officially said this, but it looked like he was just being set up by King Corbin. I'm not sure. I have to go back and try to remember, but did they actually say that it was King Corbin driving the car? Or, but anyway, he brought that up. That's why he attacked Jeff Hardy earlier in the night. And we have the match that was made earlier in the night up next. Also, before I get on to that next match, Elias will have a concert next week on Monday Night Raw. So I'm sure during COVID, everybody has missed concerts. So tune in for that, for a concert. I know it's been a while since anybody's ever been able to go to one. I had to miss Knotfest this year, Slipknot back in June. I had to miss that. But luckily, this Monday, we get an Elias concert. And now, our next match. Cedric Alexander, representing the Hurt Business, takes on Ricochet. Ricochet wins 5 minutes, 19 seconds. So now the Hurt Business has to stay out of his business and leave him alone. The final round of the draft is up next. Monday Night Raw, for their last choices, they picked Titus O'Neil, Peyton Royce, and Akira Tozawa. SmackDown gets Carmella and Aleister Black. That's it for the TV draft anyway. There was more picks on Raw Talk, which took place on the WWE Network after Raw went off the air last night. Our Raw main event of the evening is up next. It is a women's battle royal, and it is one of the highlights here. We see all the superstars go after the biggest woman in the match, which is Nia Jax. But it is Nia Jax being eliminated by her own tag team partner, Shayna Baszler. And one point we go backstage, once again see Orton and McIntyre brawling. And then we go to a commercial break, come back. And the finish of this battle royal sees, it looks like Natalya, she's the last woman standing in the ring. Looks like she won. But earlier on, when Nia Jax was eliminated, she threw a temper tantrum outside of the ring, and she went attacked Lana again, which now it's almost becoming an ongoing gag of Nia Jax putting Lana through the announce table, and it seemed as if Lana was out of the match, but Lana sneaks back into the ring, eliminates Natalya to win the Battle Royal and become the number one contender to take on Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. That match will take place next week on Raw. And then we see Orton and McIntyre now ringside brawling once again. And that was last night's Monday Night Raw, the final night of the draft. And it was an alright show. Nothing real great, but kind of just meh, in my opinion, anyway. And let's start off with tonight. Once again, like I mentioned last week, I did not see all of Impact Wrestling just yet. So on this episode, I'll just be recapping what I did see of Impact on Access TV. I'll have to watch that another time because Dark, now AEW, has been making that so long lately. A lot of matches, not complaining, but they've been having, let's just see right here in my notes. "14 matches on tonight's episode of Dark." I mean, they weren't really long matches, but still almost close to 2 hours. I'm really not sure why Dark, like, why they've been making it so longer as of late, but it's been like the pretty long show lately, not complaining. Because I know a lot of people on the internet complain, oh, there's too much wrestling these days. But hey, one thing you'll never hear me complain about, that is too much wrestling. You can't get enough pro wrestling. You know me. Like the title of the podcast, I am a wrestling fanatic. That's just not a gimmick. Let's see. Let's get started with Dark here. Jungle Boy is in four-way action. He gets the win against Evil Uno from the Dark Order. Frankie Kazarian representing SCU and the Blade. Jungle Boy pins Evil Uno. And then we see the Dark Order make their way to the ring to attack Jungle Boy. But the rest of the Jurassic Express, Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt, make their way to the ring to make the save for their partner. Tag team action now on Dark. Lucha Brothers defeat Lee Johnson and Cesar Bonet. This and next one is a match that has been building on Dark and being the Elite. Brandon Cutler taking on Peter Avalon. Peter Avalon attacks Cutler, blindsiding him on the entrance ramp. Avalon hits a powerbomb on the ramp and tells the referee to declare him the winner by forfeit since Cutler cannot get to the ring, but Cutler ends up making it to the ring. These two have a pretty good match, but this time it ends up in a double disqualification. The first one ended up in a not double countout. Of course, this whole feud is based on who is the biggest loser in AEW, pretty much, because neither one of them have yet scored a win in the now 1 year history of All Elite Wrestling. So they were teaming there for a little bit, but no more. And if you've been following Being the Elite, yesterday on this week's new episode, we saw Brandon ask the Young Bucks to second him, to be in his corner. not just in the audience, but in his corner. But no Young Bucks on the show, not even in the audience. Matt or Nick were nowhere to be found. And then also after this one, they get into it again. Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon. And then we see Leva Bates get upset and leave. Next up, Sonny Kiss taking on Matt Sydal. Sydal gets the win. Tag team action, or 6-man tag team action, I should say. The Dark Order, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and 10 defeat Aaron Solo, Angel Fashion, and M. Badu. Women's action next up on AEW Dark. Brandy Rhodes is on commentary for this match, along Excalibur and Taz. No Veda Scott this week. Red Velvet taking on Elena Black. Velvet gets the win with her finishing move, Just Desserts. Our next match, Absolute Ricky Starks defeats Fuego del Sol. The Gun Club, Billy and Austin Gunn defeat Ryzen and Mark Stardom. Darby Allin defeats Nick Camarado. And Ricky Starks is on commentary now for this match. Allin, after he picks up the win here, goes after Starks right away, but that is broken up by the referees and security. Colt Cabana, with Evil Uno in his corner, is taking on Griff Garrison. Cabana gets the submission win. The Native Beast, Nyla Rose, with her manager Vicky Guerrero, defeats Kylie King. Joey Janela defeats D3. MJF's associate Wardlow defeats Elijah Dean by a knockout. And in tonight's dark main event, Eddie Kingston defeats Baron Black. That was AEW Dark. A lot of matches, like I mentioned, but a good show. Was a little disappointed though Veda Scott was not on commentary along with Excalibur and Taz. I'm a fan actually of those three together on commentary. And now I start Impact Wrestling already in progress. And when I start, I see Jimmy Jacobs in the back with Eric Young. And he wants to know if Rich Swann is out of Bound for Glory after the attack last week. And Knockouts action now. Kimberly with the Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo in her corner. She takes on Kylie Ray. And in this match, we see a much more focused, much more aggressive Kylie Ray after Purrazzo and Kimberly injured her friend Susie. Kylie gets the submission win, and Purrazzo gets in the ring, tries to attack Kylie, but Kylie turns around and gets the best of Purrazzo. She will challenge Purrazzo for the Knockouts Championship in 11 days at Bound for Glory on pay-per-view. Impact Wrestling's main event. One half of the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows, taking on Madman Fulton. Gallows gets the win here to get some momentum for the Good Brothers. as we get closer to Bound for Glory, they will be in the four-way match for the Impact World Tag Team Championships. And that was tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling on Access TV. Pretty solid episode, which I did not see the whole episode as I mentioned. I will, but I have not seen the whole episode just yet. Now let's get into some news. There's a quick update on the departure from Impact Wrestling of Rob Van Dam. And it says it's amicable, and there is a possibility of Van Dam returning. So we could see him back in Impact Wrestling along with Katie Forbes probably. But there's also been some rumors lately about maybe him making a WWE return. Who knows though? And let's see. Arn Anderson talks some tag team wrestling and FTR on his podcast this week. Not going to read that because I don't want to spoil it for myself, to be honest. I haven't listened to Arn yet, which is one of my favorite podcasts. This week is Ask Arn Anything, and definitely one of the best podcasts out there. Way better than this one, obviously, but every podcast is better than this one. So that's not really saying much, but seriously, if you have not checked out Arn Anderson's podcast, obviously, it is great. You won't regret it. Along with Conrad Thompson, Joey Ryan files a lawsuit against Anthem Impact Wrestling for a breach of contract. Back when the whole Speak Up thing started, they let him go when some accusations came out against him with that. And I already mentioned this, but EC3 coming to Ring of Honor, and Ring of Honor has released a video hyping his Ring of Honor debut. And WWE is reportedly very interested in Benjamin Carter. I don't blame him, because what I have seen of Benjamin Carter in AEW, I have to admit, I am impressed. Very good talent. And I mentioned Conrad Thompson moments ago. The podcast Arn Anderson and his other shows, which feature Eric Bischoff, Tony Schiavone, What Happened When, and Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. I enjoy all of them, but what I was going to say about that was their Patreon ad-free shows is now adding an exclusive podcast. Apparently is Gerald Briscoe, who was recently let go from WWE, will be hosting his own podcast, and it will be exclusive to adfreeshows.com. The Patreon is for all three shows: What Happened When, 83 Weeks, Something to Wrestle With, and Arn. Oh, I forgot one actually. Grillin' JR is another one. Don't know how I could have forgot that. That is another 360 Wrestling Podcast. So we will have to see what happens there. And like I said, if you belong to adfreeshows.com, the Patreon, you're going to want to check that out. And that is it for this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Hope to be back soon. And remember, if you have any suggestions or comments, or if you want to be a co-host, still searching for one, haven't found one yet, and might not find one, but if, hey, anybody wants to co-host with me on this podcast, you can just email 360 Wrestling Podcast, the Facebook 360 Wrestling Podcast, Instagram also 360 Wrestling Podcast, and Twitter 360 Wrestling Pod. Or you can just leave a comment right here, comment section on the YouTube stream. Or if any of our podcast catchers, I'm not sure if they have comment sections, but if they do, if you're listening to one of them, either Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Castbox, Stitcher, Spotify, all that good stuff, you can listen and comment on there if you want to co-host. But that is all for today. Hope to be back soon. Remember, stay safe. Keep wearing the masks. Keep using the hand sanitizer. Just be safe, be healthy, be happy. All that good stuff. I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.